On Thursday, February 12th, the United States Senate Natural Resources Committee will be considering Senate Bill S-2554, which would privatize 115,000 acres of public land from the Tongass National Forest. This legislation would amend the Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act to create 5 new shareholder-owned corporations that would have a fiduciary responsibility to clear-cut. This thinly veiled timber giveaway is not about settling native claims. It was cooked up by Lisa Murkowski, who is one of the most pro-mining and pro-logging senators in the country. If this bill passes, over 80,000 acres of ancient old-growth forests, including 60,000 acres protected by the roadless rule, will immediately lose their protection and be opened up to logging and mining. The public has until tomorrow to call the Senate Natural Resources Committee and tell them to vote no on Senate Bill S-554. This is one of the highest stakes attack on our public lands in decades, and we need the public to say no.
Welcome to Truth and Reckoning, a broadcast from Seldif. In this show, we'll learn from frontline organizers and communities fighting against environmental destruction. We'll explore different perspectives and innovative strategies for movement building, the potency and the potential of rights of nature, and effective action in defense of our communities. And we'll share inspiring stories of people working towards right relationship with the land and each other. I am your host, Max Wilbert. Today, we are bringing you a time-sensitive interview with 2 people. Wanda Culp, who's a Tlingit elder living in Southeast Alaska, and Joshua Wright, who's a forest defense activist in Washington State. We recorded it this morning and are working to get it out as quickly as possible because there is a situation regarding tens of thousands of acres of old-growth forests in Southeast Alaska. The government, including Lisa Murkowski, Alaska senator, is working to privatize tens of thousands of acres of old-growth forest by transferring them to logging companies. And as we will hear from Wanda and Joshua, the idea of land back for Indigenous people is being twisted and used by Murkowski to sell off public lands to private corporations for logging for profit. They're asking for folks to help. So please check out the action recommendation in the description of the podcast below. There's a link. They want you to help out in resisting this transfer of public lands to logging companies. So without further ado, let's get to the interview. Should we just jump in and you two can tell us a little bit about what's happening in Alaska with this imminent threat to privatize, 80,000 acres of old-growth forest for logging?
I was just reading the latest attack on Lisa Murkowski. I have to say, this is intergenerational. This is not fair. As far as the public goes, Lisa Murkowski, her father, Frank, they're supposed to be representing us, not industry. And Murkowski Frank did everything against us. We had to counter him all last century. Now we're doing it again to his daughter. And this has to stop. It has to stop. Alaska Native Claims, 1971. It's a shame on America this is not settled. It's a shame on American political policy that we're being used as puppets. This is not fair. We need settlement. I'm close to facing 80 years old right now. This has been since I was a young kid. I was battling for this. This is ridiculous. Let's get on with it. Either America is going to honor this or be honest and say we're not going to do it. My 2 cents.
So just to be clear, Wanda, when you talk about, being used, sort of being scapegoated in this way, you're talking about this bill, Senate Bill 2554, which is called the Alaska Native Landless Equity Act. So it's taking the language, right? It's taking the language of land back to indigenous people, justice for the colonial genocide and land theft that this country was built upon, the theft of your people's land, Tlingit peoples and many other peoples. And it's behind that screen of justice, it's really about taking these irreplaceable forests and selling them to logging companies. Is that right? Is that the story of what's
Very
happening here?
correct. ANSCA is an extermination act, an extermination of people act. They want to wipe the faces of Alaska Native people right off of our own land. And it's horrible. It's horrible. Right now we're facing global warming, and it's such an emergency. Over 30 small Alaska Native villages near the Arctic coast or on the Arctic coast have melted into the ocean. Why is she not making a big deal of that?
So thank you for that, Wanda. Joshua, could you tell us a little bit more about this bill itself, where it came from and what the consequences of it will be?
Of course. Well, Lisa Murkowski has been trying to pass this bit of legislation for over a decade. And this legislation uses the Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act as a pretext to privatize old growth forests for a timber giveaway, for a giveaway to logging companies and for a giveaway to mining companies. The Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act back in 1971, basically, instead of giving land to tribal villages, it gave land to Native corporations that are managed for the benefit of shareholders. So these corporations have acted in the same way as any other corporation would, and they are right now some of the leading resource extraction companies in Alaska. The Regional Native Corporation in Southeast Alaska has clear-cut thousands of acres, hundreds of thousands of acres of old-growth forests. And this bill uses language around settling Native claims and equity and justice as a thin veil to disguise a resource giveaway. Because of that adjacency to Native issues, a lot of bigger environmental groups have been uncomfortable opposing this legislation. So now we find ourselves in a situation where the Senate Natural Resources Committee on February 12th, which is tomorrow as we record this, is going to be having a hearing about the bill along with an omnibus of other public lands legislation. And there's a very real possibility that without meaningful opposition, this legislation could slip through. So right now we need as many people as who are hearing this, as many people as possible to email the Senate Natural Resources Committee. There's a for the record email address that I'm sure you'll put in the description, and register your opposition to this bill. Make it clear that there is a large constituency of the public that does not support the privatization of public lands. When Mike Lee tried to give away, a few thousand acres in the lower 48 earlier this year, he was met with a massive backlash. And now Lisa Murkowski is trying to do it in Alaska. But a lot of times what happens in Alaska is out of sight and out of mind of the lower 48. And believe me when I say that this could be the largest industrial logging project of the 21st century in Southeast Alaska if this bill passes. We are talking about 60,000 acres currently protected by the roadless rule. We're talking about potentially tens of thousands of acres of old growth forests clear cut in a single go. I mean, that's what's at stake here.
I'd like to add to that the 5 communities that Murkowski is bringing forward. You check out the map of the land that she's claiming belongs to these 5 communities. They're not even attached. It's very obviously an extraction bill. It has nothing to do with benefiting those 5 communities. Not a thing. Actually, it will hurt them rather than help them. We're a small region in Southeast Alaska, so taking anything massively hurts massively, and we've been hurt last century already.
Yeah, Wanda, and thank you for speaking to the early to that, and also earlier to sort of the duplicity and the feelings of betrayal that you're having around this, and Lisa Murkowski and her father and the long legacy of talk but no action or negative action. And it reminds me of a conversation I had not long ago with uh, Bill Jones, who's an elder from the Pakidat First Nation on Vancouver Island, who's been speaking up against the old growth logging there in Fairy Creek and the Walbran and the surrounding areas. And it seems like there's this situation where down there as well, where some native people who are pro logging, who are involved in the logging industry, are really being seized upon by the logging industry, by the government, and it's a divide and conquer strategy. It's like, right? Is that what it seems like to you?
Exactly. That's what the corporations have done to us. ANSCA, divided and conquered. You know, ANSCA is a State of Alaska corporation. Do you see what I'm saying? State of Alaska has nothing to do with people protecting us as a people, but they have everything to do with exploitation of taking off the land. This they inherited from Russia, who is already a business corporation. So Alaska has never been on behalf of the people. This is the biggest hurt that we have on our heads.
So thank you for that, and we're gonna try and make this quite short, because so you two can get back to organizing and reaching out to other people about this, and so we can get this show out quickly to listeners. But just briefly, Wanda and then Joshua, if you wouldn't mind speaking to what these forests are like, because I've never been to Southeast Alaska. Most people probably haven't who are listening to this. Why are these places important beyond saying that it's old growth forest? What does it look like? What does it smell like? What do you do in these forests? Why are they so important?
I want to say that we have clean air. And we're under a atmospheric river right now, so we can't have any more cleaner air than we have. But we also are in the 40-degree weather in February, and we're supposed to be under cold weather right now. So it's affecting us. It's affecting the plants that we rely on for food. It's affecting everything.
Oh, yeah. I spent a lot of time in the areas that are called land selections under this legislation last summer. So one of the favorite places I visited was the west side of Gravina Island, which is just near Ketchikan. Is where the Ketchikan Airport is. And right now it has about 40,000 acres of inventoried roadless areas on that island. And the entire west side of this island is a land selection under the landless legislation, under this bill. And if that area is privatized, it would be a 6,000 acre contiguous clear cut. I hiked about a third of the way into this land selection. It took me all day just to hike a third of the way through it because it's so big. And it was bursting with ancient it was bursting with ancient red cedar and ancient Sitka spruce. It has trees that are, 8 or 9 feet thick. And these places, these old growth forests, they're similar to the redwoods. They are something that not many people see and not many people even know exists. Ecosystems that have lasted intact, undisturbed, oftentimes since the last ice age. That's what's at stake here. And when you're in these ecosystems, you can see that they are much, much more than commodities on a sort of an industrial game of Monopoly where they're trying to extend the tree farms into the rainforest. And that's what's happening with this legislation. In multiple land selections, you actually have new land giveaways right next to areas that were the land giveaways from 5 years ago or from 20 years ago. One of the locations on Revilla Island is a 5,000 acre section of old growth directly adjacent to I believe it's an 8,000 acre chunk of land that was recently given to the Mental Health Trust from public ownership. And that area is being clear cut. And now this next area is on the chopping block to be clear cut. This is being done under the auspices of native claims, but it is very clearly whatever justification can we use, we want to give land to industry. If we can't repeal the roadless rule, we'll give land away from the national forest. If we think that Lisa Murkowski is going to stop with this legislation and say, okay, now ANCSA is settled, we're fools. She's going to dig up some other invalid claim and push it through in a sort of a horse trading type of deal simply to facilitate more resource giveaways. So we have a template email that we've set up that folks can copy and paste and email to the Natural Resources Committee. So I encourage folks to do that. We're trying to get as many people as possible to speak up in the next really 24 hours. But if you're listening to this after the 24-hour period, it's still worth emailing the Senate Natural Resources Committee. Call your senator and call your representative, because this has not passed the full Senate yet. It has not passed the full House yet. So it still has a long way to go. But on Thursday, it's taking the first step down the road to passage.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. We'll absolutely include those links in the description. Any closing words or thoughts, Wanda and then Joshua?
Landless, roadless. That's what Anska has brought to us as far as a settlement goes. That's not a settlement. That's a slap in the face. Just saying.
Yeah, we've got to fight this, even if it's uncomfortable. I think that the environmental community needs to be comfortable saying it's always wrong to clear cut a forest. It's always wrong to clear cut an ancient forest, and we need to use our voice and speak up.
Well, thank you both so much. I really appreciate your work on this issue. You're both just beautiful, wonderful people, and we'll encourage our listeners to do this.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for listening to our show and let you know a few ways you can support Truth and Reckoning. First, share this broadcast with your friends and family. Leave a positive review via your podcast app. Visit the Truth and Reckoning YouTube channel and leave a thumbs up and a comment. The full scope of the work of CELDF, including this show, comes with a financial cost. So if you're able to make a donation, go to celdf.org. That's celdf.org. But most importantly, our goal for this show is to empower you to take action. So the best way you can show your support is to get involved with your community and protecting the place where you live. Thank you very much.